So then, here are 5 roller coasters that I believe make the UK so unique and are very much the first coasters that come to mind when you think of roller coasters in the United Kingdom. Now, I do have to say, a very obvious disclaimer to this, it's very much impossible to summarise all of the incredible rides in the UK without having separate lists, so chances are I'll make more of these, but please do bear in mind, there is almost a definite possibility that there will be rides that you think are incredibly iconic that haven't made it onto this list. Please bear in mind, it's not because I don't think they're iconic, it's just I've had really struggled actually to try and think of 5 rides that everyone talks about, and people I've met who aren't from the United Kingdom, and from an outside perspective on what rides they think of when they think of the UK. So please bear that in mind. This is barely scratching the surface. I'll have to make so many more parts of this video, which I probably will do, to give other rides credit that they deserve, which haven't made it onto this list, so please bear that in mind. These are just 5 rides that crop up the most when you hear people on online forums talking about iconic rides in the United Kingdom. So first up, we are starting this list off with a Gerstlauer Eurofighter opening on the 14th of March 2009 at Thorpe Park, going by the name of Saw the Ride. Now, this ride is incredibly iconic as it opened as the world's first horror-themed roller coaster. Now, this is a ride that you hear people talking about so much online because it's such an odd theme to see on a roller coaster going so heavily down that horror theme, especially in the Saw franchise. They're quite dark horror films and it was pulled off magnificently. This ride is obviously a Gerstlauer Eurofighter featuring a 100-degree drop and a 100-foot drop, an indoor section with an indoor drop and an inversion. This is an incredible ride and one that is very much deserving of this list, as it's not tried to be ambitious with something that can be overshadowed by a ride that does it better, because Saw did it so well. It's a very good ride. The indoor section I have to say is my favourite. I find the outdoor section on this ride can sometimes be a little bit rough, but overall I absolutely love this attraction, and from people I've spoke to saying what rides do you think should be on this list, every single one has mentioned Saw, so I think it's earned its place very heavily on this list. Second up, we're sticking with the Gerstlauer ride manufacturer with a roller coaster that opened on the 31st of May 2013 at the Alton Towers Resort, going by the name of the Smiler. Now, this is a ride which I couldn't have missed off the list. It is very famous for holding the inversion record, as many people know. It's a ride which, incredibly, we're now 2023, it's held the inversion record for 10 years, and I don't think it'll be beaten anytime soon, just because this ride is a marvel of engineering. It's just an incredible ride. Now, I know it is a little bit rough nowadays, and although it isn't awfully rough, I've been on worse, it's a little bit rattly. I really do believe that it deserves its place on this list. It holds the inversion record, for goodness sake. Several countries for years tried to take this record, and we still hold it in the UK at Alton Towers because, well, it's an incredible ride. Weirdly, the best part of this ride, in my opinion, not even being an inversion, being the second airtime hill, but it's an incredible ride and I think it's very deserving of its place on this list. In at number 3, we're staying at Alton Towers with an inverted roller coaster manufactured by Bolliger & Mabillard. Now, this is a very iconic ride, and it's one that I think needs to be put on this list because it's incredible the influence that this one inverted coaster has had on the country. And again, it didn't necessarily go for any record. It's just been designed in such an incredible way, I know it's being retracked, but hoping it stays equally as good. The layout of this ride is just incredible. Obviously, Alton Towers being famous for not having any coasters go above the tree heights. What did they do? They dug down. Something that I think is so iconic about Nemesis is that it's not necessarily like your usual typical roller coaster will go biggest drop, biggest inversion, and then things get smaller and smaller and smaller till you've lost all of your kinetic energy, then you hit the brake run. Whereas Nemesis, you gain a little bit of speed, then more into the inversions, then the most incredible part of this ride, the turnaround back down into the 0G roll. It's just so intense and it's gaining speed constantly, which I think is just incredible to see on a coaster. It's so unique. It's easy to see how well they've designed this ride when you just look at the crowd following for it, because it's just such an incredible ride that holds such a special place in so many enthusiast hearts just because it is an incredible ride. In at number 4, I'm doing quite well progressing with matching topics. We had Gerstlauer to Gerstlauer, then Alton Towers to Alton Towers. Now, we're sticking with the year that Nemesis opened. Another incredible roller coaster opened, manufactured by Aerodynamics at the Blackpool Pleasure Beach, and it is of course the big one, opening at Blackpool Pleasure Beach on the 28th of May 1994, just like Nemesis, and when it opened, it held the record for the world's tallest roller coaster. It towered 235 foot above the Blackpool Pleasure Beach, such a big ride that its layout actually goes round the entire pleasure beach. It isn't a ride like you'll see at Merlin Parks where it's a section where that ride is located. No, this essentially goes around the entire park, which is just so unique and awesome to see. And although I sadly have never been on it, and I know that this ride gets quite a lot of criticism, it's one which is undoubtedly iconic for the United Kingdom, really. In at number 5 is sadly one that I haven't done yet and won't be, unfortunately, but it is a ride which I believe needs to be put on this list because it is very iconic, mainly because of its history, and it is the ultimate at Lightwater Water Valley. Now this ride opened on the 17th of July 1991 and was manufactured by British Rail, their debut roller coaster and sadly their only one. And it is something which is quite odd to think really that a rail company manufactured a roller coaster, but I guess they correlate. And it was also the world's longest roller coaster, taking the record from the Beast at Kings Island. That's insane to think because Kings Island is one of the big dogs in the theme park industry, always has been, especially with the Beast. It's a very iconic roller coaster and that record was taken in this very country. It makes you quite proud really, doesn't it? Especially given that it's a ride manufactured by British Rail to take the record. It should also be mentioned that this record wasn't taken away from the Ultimate very quickly and it held it for 9 whole years, which is incredible. And although sadly we won't be able to experience it anymore, I still do think that it deserves its place on this list because it's incredible to think really that we held the record for the world's longest roller coaster. And from what I've seen of videos about it online and people I've spoken to have ridden it, the second half of this ride was insane. So I think it's really earned its place on this list. So then thank you for watching. As I said, I've not mentioned anywhere near enough roller coasters that should be on this list. I'm very willing to make a part 2, 3, 4, 5 and would definitely need to give the rides that should be on this list justice. Please bear in mind, I most definitely won't have mentioned rides that you believe to be on this list, not because I don't believe they should, just because I've tried to, with only 5 places being available on this list, condense it down to ones that I hear spoken about the most. Please do put in the comments roller coasters within the United Kingdom that you think are iconic, and when you think of rides in the UK you think of these. Please do put them in the comments. I'm very willing to make more parts of this video. If you'd like to see it, please do put that in the comments as well, because it's something I'm more than willing to do. Thank you for watching. Sorry if I sound a bit bunged up. I've somehow got a cold when it's got sunny. I don't know how that's even possible, but thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.